Welcome back to Bitcoin Advisors channel. Bringing it to you here from Westlake Village, California, where it is probably going to be 90 degrees again today. And hey, we got a lot to talk about. Finally getting a little breakout on Bitcoin. And what do I want to start it off with here today? I'm going to pull up Bitcoin on the 4-hour chart here. And what do we have here? Starting off with the 4-hour, and here's what I am looking at right now. I do believe we are going to hit this 44.5 target, which is our previous high. However, the question is, what happens in between then and the next, I don't know, over the next 24 hours or over the next 4 hours. I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen, over the course of the day, especially with Nasdaq, and all traditional markets are getting a nice little rise here. We did get a closure above. Well, technically, if you want to use that high, we hit it to the T at the 1618. At that point, I would expect for us to get a backfill here, maybe somewhere around this midpoint, around 43.5, maybe even as much as 43.3. We've been expecting some pretty whippy price action, or seeing some pretty whippy price action over the past few weeks, where we just get straight up, straight down. Look at this candle right there, and I would just expect support to hold somewhere in this region right here. So I'm just going to take that fib off. And what else do we have in favor of the bulls right now? Volatility is expanding from a low level, and momentum will remain to the upside as long as we're closing 4-hour candles above 43.3. And what else do we got going on here? I thought I should go ahead and take this trade. Is it going to give it to us on this closure is the question. And maybe I'll just press pause here. Pause, take a trade, and go. No. Here's what I would say though. Actually, I'll show it to you. I'm going to finish the video and make this a little bit quicker. But what I am looking at here on the 30-minute time frame is just by having a tick below that low right there, I'm expecting a move down to the 9 exponential. Do we have any divergence forming? One drive back from this point here. So we got a higher high, and then we've got a lower high. So high price is making a higher high as the RSI is making a lower high, and the first drive gets you a move down to the 9 exponential. What else are we about to witness on the hourly time frame? So very similarly, if we can get a tick below this low at 43.830, I would expect a move down to the 9 exponential. And how many drives of bearish divergence would that be on the hourly time frame? So yep, that would just be our first drive. So we got a higher high here, and looks like we're going to do it here on this tick here. The question is, are we going to get a little bounce first? Looks like it does want to come down here. Are we going to get a backfill on this candle? I could go ahead and just show you guys how I do this for kicks. But typically what you'll see on a big red candle like this is a little bit of a backfill. So maybe it comes back up and gives us a little pity bounce. But then I would expect downwards momentum, because that is a bearish candle. And so we probably, after spending some time away from this 9 exponential, typically the first pass is going to be a buy. And then the question is, Are we going to play out a little more volatile price action and come down to the 9? Personally, I think probably a little bit of a backfill first and then back down to the 9. So if I was going to enter a short position, maybe somewhere back up here at 43,904, let's say I could have been wrong, and we got the immediate continuation to the downside. Nope, there goes the backfill. And where do these pity bounces come in? So on a weak bounce, you're up to the 236 or the 382, somewhere in that range. That's a weak bounce. And the bull trap, the 0.5 and the 618, that would look good for kind of a re-entry on a short. Where does this line up on the hourly? So we did get an hourly closure right below that low right there. And that I would expect does lead to that continuation to the bottom side. And we're talking about, a percentage move. So let's say we catch it at the 382 down to there. It's about 0.8%, or roughly from 43,943 down to 43,576. So that would look good for a little scalp, just a short-term trade. And in these, when we're starting to see volatility heat up, this is kind of the trader's paradise, where you get to go long, go short, do it multiple times a day and have a little fun with the trading. What else? What else did I want to bring up on the bullish case? So again, we did mention on the 4 hour. So we'll have another 2 hours to come back down and touch that line. And then, I'd probably be looking for the opposite side of the trade. The 4 hour did close above the topside cylinder band, and that is typically a bullish continuation formation. Now, if we close below it, that might be the sign of a bit of a weak rally. But I do think, at some point we come and test this high of 44.5, if not 44.8, somewhere in that range. But here's where everything changes, right? On the daily time frame, we've been talking about this for weeks. More conservative traders are going to wait for that $46,000 daily closure above 46,000. More aggressive could be 44.5 or 45,000. And that should look good for upside continuation. I'm getting over a bit of a cold from my youngest daughter. Love when she comes home coughing and she goes, "I got COVID." I'm like, "No, you don't, honey. No, you don't." And sure enough, she was good. So anyways, what else do I want to talk about? So on the daily time frame, is this the day where we're going to shatter on through this high? I don't necessarily think that's the case. More likely than not, we probably sell off the high on the first pass here. And then the question is, can we put in another higher low somewhere around, 41? But I would say that as long as we are maintaining the higher lows here on the daily time frame, that looks good for upside continuation. And personally speaking, any kind of a daily closure above this wick high is going to give me a first target of 50,864 and a second target of right there at the 54 to 55,000 kind of range. So I would, expect some ebbs and flows and not to happen overnight. But, the question is, do we do something like this, kind of sell off, put in another higher low right there, and then give it a shot up there? I think that would look good. What about the underlying market dynamics? And, as open interest goes up, And again, that's all the leverage positions on the board. And, you know, again, by the way, just looking at the 30-minute chart, which I was mentioning at the beginning of the stream here, we are getting that backfill, right? So is it going to be a weak bounce? And then, you know, a little more continuation to the downside based on the hourly closure. I think that is more likely than not, because these markets want to get, you know, as many people in and out as possible, getting liquidated out of their positions. So that looks like we're getting that backfill, and that is coming up right to the 236 at the moment. Could we get a little bit more? I'd say even up to the 382 would look okay, but I'm kind of leaning to the downside right now based on this hourly closure. However, the volume was pretty weak there. So how would that move that I'm, you know, hypothesizing comes down to the 9 exponential? How would that get invalidated? I would say any kind of an hourly closure back above 44,557, that will look good for, you know, a reversal. And more, you know, that's if you're more aggressive, a little more conservative, you'd probably wait for the 786. And that should look good for some of these targets to get hit. I do think we could get some stray wicks at the moment. Why? Well, open interest is ticked up quite a bit. Open interest is coming in at 11.9 billion, so almost 12 billion. And I would, you know, kind of expect that trend to continue upwards and onwards from here. As price action goes up, we'd expect, if open interest is going up and we're making higher highs and higher lows, I would expect for price continuation in the direction of the trend. And so that's kind of it. Wrapping up my thoughts on Bitcoin. Probably, you know, sells off the first pass, coming back to this daily 45.5 region, you know, that's been our last, I don't know, call it 1, 2, 3, 4 highs, and sells off on the first pass. The question is, can we put in a higher low somewhere above, call it 40,500 or 40,800? That's going to look good for, you know, a party back onto the upside. Now, where would that idea get invalidated? I would say any kind of a daily closure back below one of these lows at 40,200, specifically below this 21-day exponential. That's probably going to be enough to send it back to the bottom side of the range. And if we do kind of start to break this trend line, or more specifically 37,000 to the downside, I would expect these wicks start to get filled out again. So that is wrapping it up for Bitcoin for the day. Did I want to share anything else? Funding rates, let's take a look at those really quick. And funding rates are it's kind of minuscule. I know right now it is costing more to go long than it is to go short. I think more people are probably going long at this point. This is inconsequential though at the moment. So that's it for funding rates. What is a fear and greed index saying? Fear and greed at a 40, so still in the fearful zone. And when do those lows typically come in? It usually likes to spend, 3 months in this fearful zone before a macro low is put in. And December to March here, I wouldn't consider this really getting back out of the fearful zone. We'd want to see it back up here. And that's when people are starting to get you know, more on the greedy side. A 52 is kind of the neutral zone. So, yep, that's my thoughts on the fear and greed index. And what else did I want to bring up today? We want to follow up on a couple of altcoins we talked about yesterday. Starting it off with Ethereum. And Ethereum does look like it has been, let me pull up my other Ethereum chart here. Ethereum, at 3,100, looking more bullish than Bitcoin, almost hitting this measure move that we talked about yesterday. And I would say, you know, really, Ethereum needs to get above 3,400 for the party to get started again. And what else do we have here? So volatility is getting above the 50 percentile, which is good. We don't want to see it curve back over. On the day today, we will be crossing momentum to the downside with any kind of a closure below $3,082. And do we have any divergences playing out here? So we definitely have divergence between this point and this point, which would mean prices making a lower high, RSI is making a higher high, but this is not a confirmed lower high yet. How would you confirm this? Any kind of a daily closure, really back below this low on tomorrow's candle. We just don't want to take out that low at 29.94. That would look like kind of a fake out, the beginnings of a bit of a fake out. But I would say as long as we're making higher lows above this. So, you know, does this play out like similar to what Bitcoin could potentially do, right? We maybe hit that target, come back down, put another higher low in, and then give a shot to the upside. And, you know, potentially get stopped out at the $3,400 mark. I would say that is the area to really be watching. If you put on the volume profile, let's take a look here. So volume profile actually coming in more, let's see. Yeah, pretty much right above here. So what you can see is the volume of buying and selling really starts to drop off. I'd say above 32.27, but you could call it 31.46, and then gives us room to kind of just blast through price action and get up to that $3,800 level. And I would expect some selling, strong selling at that point. So that is it for Ethereum. And I want to also mention, let's take a look at Luna, which we've been talking about for some time here. On the daily, it is just holding this 9 exponential. Yesterday's candle did not confirm a local low or high. It was just kind of flagging out in the middle there. Which, what other tools can we look at for bias in direction here? I would say our momentum indicators, and I would say anytime that you kind of see this, okay, green dot, leave. You know, if you start to see price action just continue to grind up slowly but surely and hold this trend line, right? As long as we hold this trend line and we start grinding out the top side of this guy, that's going to look good. That's going to look bullish. If we do start to violate the 9 or especially the 21, you know, I'd be targeting a move back down here to $78. As long as we don't violate 71, it is going to look good for bullish divergence, several drives, and even minimal drives of bullish divergence I have noticed tend to play out for this asset. So here we have two clear stop and reverse points. One, I would even say 2 and 3. We have not put in a local high yet. And yeah, not yet. So kind of in no man's land on the bullish divergence spectrum. But if we can put in another drive of bullish divergence and put in, well, first we would need a high and then a low. So I think best case scenario for this one is something like this, where, you know, we kind of just, you know, dribble up and slowly but surely. But I do think if Bitcoin breaks the range of 45.5 to the upside, this one will probably be making some new all-time highs. Again, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but we do know the long-term target on this one. And that's, again, as long as we do not, I don't know, validate. Sorry, let me see what I'm trying to say here. So, no, I'm not trying to say that. What am I trying to say on this asset is we do know what the long-term range has been, you know, going back from this point here, back in December 2021 to now. We've been looking for, as soon as we get a daily closure back above 104, for the next target to get hit, which, how would we come up with that target? Use the Fibonacci retracement tool. And the first target is the 1618. And, you know, that's coming up at about $138. So as well as you can use this to the downside, and you can see this last higher low coming in right here at $72. Or also known as the 50% retracement. And the way this tool typically works is in basically if you start closing back below the 50% retracement, it's bad news bears. Below the 382, it's done. It's likely going to come back and, you know, retest the bottom side of the range at least. And that is typically how this works. So as long as we're consolidating above the 786 here, I'm looking for this one to move onwards and upwards. And what does that look like? So if we use this as kind of an ascending triangle, and this would be another place to say, okay, might want to take off some off the table, you know, up at 122. So with the daily closure above 104, first target 121, you know, do we get, you know, right to the moon here at 135 or 136? I don't think so. But again, this whole thing gets invalidated pretty much with, you know, probably losing the green 55. If you want to be more conservative, you could wait for this guy right here. Also to note, when people use the Fibonacci retracement tool, and they're kind of looking to buy on a bullish retracement. So let's say we break out here, right? And we come up to this target. Then people typically buy, first buy there. Second buy is at the 618. Okay. And that is my basic understanding of how some people use it. Because again, you know, just because you break the top side of the range, like you don't buy right here typically. You know, you want to have already kind of set your idea of what you think is going to happen based on your own trading strategy. And so I can't tell you what that looks like for you, but I can just give you my thoughts and, you know, what I'm looking at. And as long as this guy is kind of just grinding along the way here, as Bitcoin is remaining above 43,000 at the moment, and we are pretty much getting that fade back downwards on the hourly chart, then yeah, I'm just more or less looking for this guy to keep on keeping on with the trend. And what else? So that's it for Luna. Another one we spotted yesterday, I believe, was Solana. And Solana's looking bullish with Bitcoin right now. And very similar to Ethereum. This guy right here, I'd say any kind of a daily closure above 104 would give us that targeted move if you're more aggressive, right? As this trend line was taken out here. How could we have drawn this more specific? But something like that. So as soon as this guy got taken out, I believe we had it drawn like this. And as soon as that guy got, you know, again, that's why you don't necessarily buy on the breakout, right? You typically buy the retest of the support. And that, you know, will look good around the 21 exponential. And so where's the measure move point off of this? Again, something like this, the target of about 113. And it looks like we are going to get that move. And I would say, you know, confirmation of that, because we're going to have some divergences beginning to form here as we have a slew of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, or this is not a confirmed, yes, it would be a confirmed high. So we got 1, 2, 3 highs. Would you confirm that as a high? I guess because we closed below this low, I would consider that a high, yes. So 1, 2, 3 from this point, lower highs. Plus, how many higher highs do we have? Is that coming back from this point? Yes. So how many higher highs? 1, 2, 3. Have we confirmed this as a higher high yet? No. And where's the bearish divergence coming in from? All the way back from this guy right here. Gosh, it's really hard to see on this little tiny screen. So RSI is making a higher high and price is making a lower high. So that is going to be in the context of a downtrend. Price is making higher high. RSI is making, price is making a lower high. RSI is making a higher high. So that would only be the first drive of hidden bearish divergence. And when this gets, you know, typically the first time back to the bullish control zone, that's typically a sell. So I don't know how much that's going to help or hurt you guys, but right now this does look good. As long as we're closing dailies above 99 bucks, volatility is expanding from a low level. We are getting back into the bullish control zone here. So if RSI could come up here and do something like this and hold in there, that's going to look good. Even a comeback down, retest the exponential, and then get back in there. That is going to look good for that move to really play out, in my opinion. Just my opinion. And let's see. Can I delete the green dots? What other ones did we talk about yesterday? We got Ethereum, Luna, Solana. Another one that people really like that I think's been actually breaking out a little bit is this guy right here called Waves. Let's take a look at it on the daily time frame. And similarly, coming back to its, April 21 highs. Okay, not very similar, but September and October, the December highs are right there. So that's not looking super bullish when, you know, Bitcoin was making new all-time highs in December. And the underlying, not the underlying asset, but when the altcoin is not making new all-time highs, that's typically not the most bullish thing. However, what is a little bit more bullish on this chart is we are coming back to this top side of this range, going back to September of 21. And so really, if this guy's going to get going, you know, I look for a daily closure back above 34.49. And where would I put a target? I don't want to put a target that big, but could you call this a cup and handle? Let's see, where's the crazy bullish target going to be on this guy? Up at $50. I think that's probably doable. If Bitcoin wants to head up towards 52 to 55,000, I think it's very doable. So what else? What else do we want to talk about here? Let's take a look at Sand. Mr. Sandman. No, I'm not familiar with that show at all, but Sand really got kicked in the teeth here. And, you know, for some of us, we had a really good time riding this asset up last year. Do I think it will have its day in the hay again? I do think so at some point, but do I think this is a bullish chart? No, does not look bullish on the daily time frame. More looks like a decent selling opportunity. So why is that? Well, typically the way I would look at this is selling against the green 55 has been favorable in this downtrend, and selling here with kind of risk management. I guess you could use that prior wick high at 390. That's way high. I would actually tighten that up quite a bit and probably say, you know, risk management, you know, you could use the wick high on this wick right there. So even that's quite a bit. It doesn't seem like much, but you know, that's 4% there. And would this confirm some bearish divergence, which is what you'd want to see? Is, again, bearish divergence is when price is making higher highs, RSI is making lower highs. So price is making higher highs. I would say, no, this is not a higher high. This is not a higher high yet. RSI is making lower highs. So in fact, we have the opposite in the context of a downtrend. In the context of a downtrend, price is making lower highs, RSI is making higher highs. And so that is probably the tip. You got a lower high here. If this closes anywhere below this high on the next daily candle, that would give you at least 2 drives of bearish divergence with a move back down to the 21 or the 9 exponential. So bit of a seller on Mr. Sandbox. However, on this other side of this asset, do we have any bullish divergence coming back from this point over here? Hidden bullish divergence. Price is making a 1, and you got to have a clear stop and reverse point. So would I call this a local low? I don't know, more like a complex low. So 1, 2, 3, and that's what gives you that was the confirmation that you're going to get a shot to the green 55, and then you look on the other side for the bearish divergence. So with this one, I actually wouldn't say I have much of a clue on this one. As for now, probably easier to watch Bitcoin, see what Bitcoin does. And I guess I will wrap it up with the last few minutes on Bitcoin price action. Gosh, my chart looks so... I'm trying to make it easier for you to see. But again, Bitcoin coming up to its 4th high point. And very, very likely, I think as long as we maintain the trend of higher lows, that Bitcoin, you know, probably sells off of this guy the first time, but then gets a shot, and we get a shot at least for trying up there towards the, you know, $51,000 to $52,000 mark. So again, what would something like that look like? Is we come up here, come back down, put in a higher low, and then give a shot up there. That would look really nice to me for Bitcoin's price action. And how would this thing get invalidated? Any kind of a, well, daily closure below 40, call it 40,400. If we just take out these lows, very likely going to come back and bounce somewhere around 37,000. Probably doesn't break it on the first pass. And then we go and at least fill out these wicks. I really don't think it's going to go much lower than that at the moment, but we'll have to see how open interest looks, how much more interest is coming in to the market. All right, that's going to be it for today. Again, if you guys enjoyed the update, you liked the video, drop us a like, share it with a friend. And I hope it was helpful. Feel free to post a comment in the section below if you have any other coins you want me to cover. Thanks, and have a blessed day.